How to Talk to People in English, a comprehensive guide. Talking to people in English involves more than vocabulary and grammar. Confidence, empathy, and conversational flow are just as important. Here we'll explore how to build these skills step by step so that you feel comfortable and confident speaking English with anyone. 1. Building conversational confidence. Overcoming language anxiety. If you're nervous about speaking English, know that you're not alone. Many people experience anxiety when learning a new language. Here's how to address it. Visualize success. Before a conversation, take a moment to imagine the conversation going well. Picture yourself speaking confidently and fluently. Visualizing success can reduce stress and build self-assurance. Use familiar phrases to start. Memorize a few simple, versatile phrases like, "It's nice to meet you," "I hope your day is going well," or "What do you think about?" Starting with phrases you've practiced can make the beginning of a conversation feel easier. Self-monitor in a positive way. If you feel nervous, be mindful of your thoughts. Avoid negative self-talk like, "I'll never get this right." Instead, say to yourself, "This is a learning opportunity," or "Everyone makes mistakes." Practice exercise. Write down 5 phrases you can use to start a conversation, and practice saying them out loud daily. Practicing repeatedly will make them feel natural, so you can rely on them during real conversations. 2. Expanding vocabulary. Beyond basic words. Having a varied vocabulary is essential to expressing yourself clearly. But memorizing lists isn't enough. You need practical, applicable vocabulary. Learn synonyms for common words. Start with words you use daily and learn 2 or 3 synonyms. For example, instead of always saying happy, you might use joyful, content, or pleased. Using synonyms can make your language richer and help avoid repetition. Focus on verbs and phrasal verbs. English often uses phrasal verbs like look up to, come across, or put off. Learning these adds depth to your language and allows you to sound more natural. Practice descriptive vocabulary. For social situations, words related to emotions, appearance, and actions are particularly useful. Learn words like thrilled, upset, awkward, casual, and fascinating to describe feelings, people, and situations. Practice exercise. Each week, choose 10 new words and write sentences using each one. Then, challenge yourself to use those sentences in real conversations throughout the week. 3. Active listening. Improving your comprehension skills. Good conversation is a two-way street. Active listening is just as crucial as speaking because it makes others feel valued and encourages them to open up. Here's how to listen more effectively. Summarize what you've heard. After someone shares a thought, summarize it briefly to show you're paying attention. For example, "So, you're saying that," or "It sounds like you felt." This technique shows that you're genuinely engaged. Listen for keywords and tone. Sometimes the words people emphasize can tell you a lot about how they feel. If someone says, "I'm really busy right now," the emphasis on really signals that they might be stressed. Pay attention to these nuances. Limit your responses. Avoid interrupting. Let the other person complete their thoughts before you respond. If you think of something to say while they're talking, wait until they're finished. Practice exercise. When watching English shows or movies, pause after each scene and summarize what just happened. This can help you practice listening for main ideas and remembering details. 4. Asking open-ended questions. Deepening conversations, learning how to ask open-ended questions, can transform your conversations from basic exchanges to meaningful discussions. Use what and how questions. Questions like, how was your day? Or, what do you enjoy about your work? Allow people to elaborate, whereas questions like, did you have a good day? Can be answered with a simple yes or no. Encourage storytelling. If someone shares a small detail, ask them to tell you more. For instance, if they say, I went hiking over the weekend, you can say, what was the best part of the hike? Practice active curiosity, show genuine interest. Instead of moving to the next topic, stay on the current one. For example, if someone mentions a recent trip, explore that further by asking what they enjoyed, what surprised them, or where they went. Practice exercise. Prepare 3 open-ended questions before meeting someone. Practice using them in conversation and see how they encourage others to share more details. 5. Managing nervousness. Overcoming fear of speaking. For many learners, nervousness can make speaking difficult. To manage nerves, it helps to focus on the moment rather than worrying about mistakes. Mindfulness techniques. Practicing mindfulness helps to focus your attention on the present rather than worrying about what you'll say next. Techniques like deep breathing and grounding exercises can reduce anxiety. Acknowledge your feelings. Instead of trying to push away nervousness, acknowledge it. Remind yourself, it's okay to feel nervous and it will pass. Slow down and embrace. Pauses. Nervousness often makes people rush. Practice speaking slowly and use pauses naturally in conversation. Pauses make you seem confident and help you organize your thoughts. Practice exercise. Before speaking, take 3 deep breaths to center yourself. Practicing this technique daily can help you handle nervousness when talking to others. 6. Enhancing small talk. Making casual conversations effortless. Small talk is essential for building rapport and transitioning to deeper topics. Here's how to get comfortable with it. Discuss common interests. Start with universally relatable topics like weather, current events, or shared activities. For example, I heard there's a new movie in town. Have you seen it yet? Compliments as conversation starters. Compliments make people feel valued and open up. For instance, I love your scarf. Is it from a recent trip? Share light. Personal details. If someone mentions something, try adding a relevant personal experience. For example, if they talk about a new restaurant, mention one you recently visited. Practice exercise. Write down 5 small talk topics you can use. Practice them with different people throughout the week to feel more comfortable and natural with these kinds of conversations. 7. Developing deeper conversations. Going beyond small talk. To create meaningful connections, try these tips for more substantial conversations. Focus on their emotions. Notice how people feel about what they're saying. Respond with empathy by acknowledging their emotions, like, that sounds exciting, or I can see why that was tough. Share thoughtful insights. After listening, share a related experience or viewpoint to add depth to the conversation. Avoid just agreeing. Instead, share something meaningful. Allow for silence. Pauses aren't a bad thing. Give the person time to think. Silence can be powerful, especially when discussing deeper topics. Practice exercise. Next time someone shares something personal, practice responding empathetically. Reflect their emotions back to them and observe how this changes the tone of the conversation. 8. Expanding idioms and expressions. Sounding natural. Idioms and expressions help you sound fluent. Use them thoughtfully to add natural flavor to your conversations. Focus on one idiom a week. Instead of memorizing many at once, pick one useful idiom and use it throughout the week. For example, break the ice can be used in many contexts when talking about meeting new people. Understand cultural contexts. Idioms don't always translate literally. Know when to use them by watching shows or talking with native speakers. For example, hit the nail on the head is often used to compliment someone's accuracy. Practice exercise, find 5 idioms or phrases, and write down sentences using each. Practice them in casual conversations to see how they fit naturally. 9. Avoiding pitfalls in conversation. Here are some common mistakes to avoid and how to navigate them. Avoiding one-sided conversations. Engage in two-way exchanges rather than just talking about yourself. For example, if someone shares about their weekend, share something similar rather than changing topics abruptly. Being patient with mistakes. Don't dwell on your mistakes. If you correct yourself, keep it brief and move on. Mistakes are part of learning, and often people won't even notice. Avoiding overly complex language. Use simple language to keep conversations clear. Trying too hard to use advanced vocabulary can sometimes disrupt the flow. Practice exercise. Record yourself talking and listen for one-sided phrases or overused words. Reflect on ways to balance your responses and avoid monopolizing conversations. Building conversational memory. Recalling details in conversation. Being able to recall details from past conversations is a valuable skill. It shows the person that you're genuinely interested in them, and it helps build stronger connections. Here's how to improve your conversational memory. Practice summarizing. Conversations. After each conversation, mentally summarize the main points and anything memorable the other person mentioned. This helps retain details for future conversations. Use mnemonics for names and details. If you have trouble remembering names, associate each person's name with something unique about them. For example, Mike who loves hiking, or Sarah with the red scarf. This helps imprint details in your memory. Follow up on past topics. In future conversations, show you remembered by bringing up past details. For instance, if someone mentioned a project, ask, "How's your project going?" It demonstrates attentiveness and care. Practice exercise. After each conversation, write down 2 details you remember. Review them before the next time you see the person to refresh your memory. 11th, mastering body language. Communicating without words. Body language is just as important as words when it comes to effective communication. Nonverbal cues like eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures can make you seem more engaged and approachable. Here's how to use body language to enhance your conversations. Maintain open body posture. Stand or sit facing the person, and avoid crossing your arms, which can seem defensive. Instead, keep your arms relaxed to signal openness. Use mirroring to build rapport. Subtly mirror the other person's gestures and posture. If they lean in, you can also lean slightly forward. Mirroring can build subconscious rapport and make both of you feel more comfortable. Make consistent eye contact. Eye contact conveys confidence and interest. Don't stare, but try to meet their gaze regularly to show engagement. If eye contact is challenging, focus on the space between their eyes. Practice exercise. When talking to someone, consciously relax your posture and maintain gentle eye contact. Notice how these small changes affect the interaction. 12th, practicing with authentic resources. Immersing yourself in English. To improve naturally, immerse yourself in English as much as possible. Here's how to use authentic resources like TV shows, movies, and podcasts to practice. Watch TV shows with subtitles. Start by watching English language shows with English subtitles. Focus on how characters converse, noting phrases, slang, and cultural references. Gradually remove subtitles as you get more comfortable. Listen to English podcasts. Podcasts on topics you enjoy are a great way to practice. Listen to them while commuting, cooking, or during any spare time. Pause and repeat sentences to practice pronunciation. Engage with English news. News anchors speak clearly, making it easier to understand. Listen to short news clips and try summarizing what you heard in your own words. This helps with both comprehension and memory. Practice exercise. Pick a favorite show or podcast and write down 3 phrases or expressions you hear. Try to use these in conversations during the week. 13. Using shadowing techniques. Mimicking fluent speakers. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say immediately after, imitating their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. It's an excellent way to build fluency. Choose short audio clips. Start with short 1 to 2 minute clips from English-speaking videos or podcasts. Listen carefully, then repeat what you hear, trying to match the speaker's tone and rhythm as closely as possible. Record and compare. Record yourself as you shadow, then listen back to compare. Notice any differences in pronunciation or intonation and adjust accordingly. Increase speed. Gradually. As you get more comfortable, choose faster or more complex audio. This helps improve your reaction time and fluency. Practice exercise. Take a 1-minute clip from a podcast, play it back, and try to shadow it 3 times. Each time, focus on a different aspect: pronunciation, speed, or intonation. 14. Understanding. Cultural context. Adapting to social nuances. Cultural awareness is key to connecting with native English speakers. Language isn't just words. It reflects cultural attitudes, etiquette, and values. Here's how to build cultural context into your language skills. Observe cultural norms in media. Notice how people in English-speaking media greet each other, handle small talk, or express disagreement. For example, English speakers often use polite language like "excuse me" or "I'm afraid" to soften negative responses. Learn the basics of politeness. English-speaking cultures value politeness and often use phrases like "please," "thank you," and "sorry." Practicing these in various contexts helps you blend into conversations smoothly. Be aware of tone and humor and sarcasm. Humor and sarcasm can vary greatly across cultures. Watch how comedians or TV show characters deliver jokes and sarcasm. This helps you understand how to respond in a lighthearted way or when humor is appropriate. Practice exercise. Watch a conversation scene from a movie or show and note down any culturally specific phrases or actions. Try using these in similar social contexts to get a feel for their use. 15. Preparing for specific social situations. Tailoring your approach. Different settings require different conversational approaches. Here's how to prepare for specific situations, whether it's a work meeting, casual gathering, or family event. Professional settings. In work environments, Be concise and respectful. Use phrases like I believe in or in my opinion to present your thoughts politely. Prepare some questions to ask or topics to discuss in advance to feel more prepared. Casual gatherings. At parties or social gatherings, aim for a relaxed tone. Show curiosity by asking about hobbies, favorite movies, or recent events. In a relaxed setting, it's okay to use informal language and share more personal stories. Formal events. In formal situations like weddings or business dinners, use polite language and avoid controversial topics like politics. Stick to safe topics like family, food, and compliments to keep the mood light and respectful. Practice exercise. Identify one situation you'll be in soon, such as a work meeting or family gathering. Prepare 3 topics or questions relevant to that setting and practice saying them out loud. 16. Practicing empathy and emotional intelligence, building stronger connections. Emotional intelligence involves understanding and managing your own emotions while empathizing with others. Here's how to use it to improve your conversations. Show empathy through validation. When someone shares their feelings or concerns, show understanding by validating them. Use phrases like, that sounds really challenging, or I can see why you felt that way. Reflect emotions. If someone seems excited, mirror their enthusiasm with a similar energy. If they're sad or serious, maintain a gentle tone. Reflecting emotions helps the other person feel understood. Use open body language. When someone shares something sensitive, nod and lean forward slightly to show that you're engaged. Avoid crossing your arms, as this can create a physical barrier and seem unapproachable. Practice exercise. The next time someone shares a story or emotion, focus on responding empathetically. Try validating their feelings before adding your own thoughts. 17. Joining conversation groups or language exchanges. Practicing with real people. Practicing with real people is one of the most effective ways to improve conversational skills. Many cities and online platforms offer English-speaking groups and exchanges. Seek out language exchange partners. Find a partner who wants to learn your language in exchange for practicing English with you. This creates a balanced, supportive environment. Join English meetup groups. Many communities have meetups specifically for English conversation. These groups provide a safe space to practice and often include activities like games or group discussions. Participate in online language platforms. Websites like Tandem, HelloTalk, and conversation apps connect you with native English speakers for virtual practice. You can schedule sessions or chat casually as you improve. Practice exercise. Search for a local or online conversation group and join a session. Aim to participate actively by asking questions and responding thoughtfully to others. 18. Setting long-term goals and tracking progress. Finally, set realistic goals to measure your improvement. Language learning is a gradual process, so tracking small wins will keep you motivated. Set SMART goals. Define specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. For example, I want to be able to hold a 10-minute conversation with a native speaker by the end of the month. Track progress with a language journal. Keep a journal to note new words, phrases, and daily speaking experiences. Review it regularly to see how much you've improved. Celebrate small victories. Did you hold a conversation without pausing? Understand a podcast without subtitles? Celebrate these wins. There are important milestones on your journey. Practice exercise. Write down a specific conversation goal for the week, like ask someone about their weekend and respond with follow-up questions. At the end of the week, review your progress and note any improvements. Practicing self-correction, improving as you speak. As you gain more practice speaking English, one of the most valuable skills is learning to self-correct without interrupting the flow of conversation. Here's how to do it smoothly. Pause, briefly, and rephrase. If you realize you've made a mistake, pause for a second, then rephrase the sentence. For example, if you say, I go to the store yesterday, quickly correct yourself with, I went to the store yesterday. Focus on one area at a time. If you're aware of common mistakes you make, like verb tenses or prepositions, pay attention to them one at a time. For instance, focus on using the correct past tense in each conversation until it becomes natural. Don't overcorrect. Correcting yourself once is fine, but avoid getting too hung up on every small error. Most people won't even notice, so just focus on making gradual improvements. Practice exercise. Record yourself speaking about a topic for a few minutes. Listen to the recording and note any areas for improvement. Then practice rephrasing those sentences out loud. 20. Developing your own go-to. Topics and stories. Having a few topics and stories that you're comfortable discussing can be a huge confidence booster in conversation. These can act as a backup when you're unsure what to talk about. Identify your interests and experiences. Think about topics you're passionate about or experiences that are interesting. It could be travel, a memorable event, or a favorite hobby. Prepare short stories. Develop a few brief stories you can tell with ease. For instance, if you love hiking, prepare a story about a recent hike you enjoyed. Practice it so that it feels natural. Use these stories to steer conversations. When there's a lull in conversation, bring up one of your go-to topics. For example, I went hiking last weekend and the views were incredible. Do you like hiking? Practice exercise. Choose 2 or 3 topics you enjoy talking about. Practice describing them out loud or even writing them down to build fluency in these areas. 21. Expanding your range of expressions. Learning variations for politeness and emphasis. Learning multiple ways to say the same thing helps keep conversations interesting and prevents repetition. It also allows you to adjust your tone based on formality. Learn alternative greetings and farewells. Instead of always saying, hello, how are you? Try, hi there, how's it going? Or, good to see you. Similarly, vary goodbyes with take care or catch you later. Experiment with phrases for politeness. In English, there are many ways to politely ask for something or make a suggestion. For example, instead of saying, can I, you could try, would it be possible if I, or could you please? Express emotions with subtlety. For instance, instead of saying, I'm very happy, try, I'm thrilled or I'm delighted. Having options allows you to communicate your feelings more precisely. Practice exercise. Choose a phrase you commonly use and find 2 or 3 alternatives for it. Use each one in conversation to build flexibility. 22. Practicing in real-time situations. Seize opportunities in daily life. Whenever you're out and about, look for opportunities to practice English. Real-world practice is one of the most effective ways to learn. Engage in brief conversations with strangers. Try small interactions with store clerks, baristas, or colleagues. You could say something like, how's your day going? Or make a comment like, it's so sunny today. Take advantage of English-speaking events. Attend events like public lectures, workshops, or language exchange meetups. These gatherings offer rich opportunities for conversation practice. Travel, if possible. If you're able, visit an English-speaking country or area. Immersion is one of the best ways to accelerate language skills and gain comfort speaking. Practice exercise. Set a daily goal to speak with at least one person in English, even if it's just a brief greeting or question. Track your progress each day to build consistency. 23rd, practicing reflection. After each conversation, reflecting on your conversations is a great way to grow and improve. This process helps you recognize what went well and what you could improve for next time. Identify strengths and weaknesses. After a conversation, take a moment to think about what went well. Did you stay calm, use new vocabulary, or make fewer mistakes? Then consider one area to work on next time. Celebrate small successes. Even small wins like using a new word or keeping a conversation going longer are worth celebrating. This positive reinforcement helps build confidence. Set mini goals for the next time. Based on your reflection, set one small goal for your next conversation. It could be something simple like ask a follow-up question or speak a little more slowly. Practice exercise. After each conversation, jot down 3 things you did well and 1 area for improvement. Reflect on these notes to track your progress over time. 24. Developing patience and enjoying the process. Finally, learning to talk comfortably in English is a journey that requires patience. Don't rush the process. Instead, enjoy each conversation as a new experience and an opportunity to learn. Be patient with mistakes. Language learning is a process, and mistakes are natural. Embrace them as a part of learning, and remember that each mistake brings you closer to fluency. Celebrate progress regularly. Every milestone, no matter how small, deserves recognition. Each time you have a conversation without hesitating or use a new phrase, take a moment to appreciate your growth. View conversations as opportunities, not tests. Rather than treating each conversation as a performance, view it as a chance to learn, connect, and grow. This mindset will reduce pressure and make speaking English more enjoyable. Practice exercise. Write a language diary where you record your weekly experiences and achievements in English. Reflect on how far you've come and set positive intentions for the week ahead. Mastering intonation and emphasis. Adding expression to your speech. Intonation, or the rise and fall of pitch in speech, adds emotion and emphasis, which helps make your speech sound more natural and engaging. English speakers often rely on intonation to convey feelings and indicate when they're making a point, asking a question, or showing surprise. Here's how to master it. Practice emphasizing key words. In English, certain words in a sentence are stressed to highlight the main idea. For instance, in I really enjoy music, the word really is emphasized to show passion. Try reading sentences and intentionally emphasizing different words to hear how it changes the meaning. Use rising and falling tone for questions. English questions usually have a rising intonation, especially yes or no questions like, are you coming? Practice raising your pitch slightly at the end of questions to indicate you're expecting a response. Listen to native speakers for tone. Pay attention to how native speakers' voices rise and fall naturally, especially in emotional or exciting contexts. Mimic these patterns to build a more expressive, engaging speaking style. Practice exercise. Record yourself reading sentences with different emotions, such as excitement, surprise, or curiosity. Listen back to identify where you naturally used intonation and adjust to add even more expression. 26. Navigating difficult conversations. Staying calm and articulate. Sometimes conversations can take challenging turns, especially if misunderstandings arise. Here's how to handle these situations with poise. Stay calm and breathe. Take a deep breath before responding if you feel nervous or misunderstood. This helps you think clearly and respond calmly. Use diplomatic language. When disagreeing or clarifying, use phrases like, I see your point, but, or, I understand, but, have you considered? These soften your response, making it sound more polite. Ask clarifying questions. If you're unsure about someone's point, ask open-ended questions like, could you explain that a bit more? Or, what do you mean by? This shows you're interested in understanding them fully. Practice exercise. Think of a recent challenging conversation and write down how you might have handled it with calmness and clarity. Practice using diplomatic language and clarifying questions to prepare for similar situations in the future. 27th. Practicing visualization techniques for fluency. Visualization is a powerful tool that can help you prepare for conversations and improve your response time in English. Picture the conversation ahead of time. Before an important meeting or social event, visualize how you'd like the conversation to go. Picture yourself speaking confidently, smiling, and using new phrases you've learned. Imagine specific phrases and vocabulary. If you know the topic you'll discuss, prepare by imagining specific words or phrases you might use. This mental preparation helps you recall vocabulary faster. Rehearse in your mind. Mentally rehearse responses to questions you expect. This helps solidify sentence structures and makes you more confident during the actual conversation. Practice exercise. Before your next planned conversation, spend a few minutes visualizing it. Imagine it going well, and mentally practice what you'd say. This prepares your mind for success. 28. Using a personal language lab approach. Daily self-practice. If you're dedicated to improving rapidly, create a structured personal language lab for consistent, varied practice. Here's how. Dedicate time daily. Set aside 15 to 30 minutes daily for focused language practice with a specific goal in mind, such as improving pronunciation or learning new vocabulary. Use a mix of resources. Rotate between different tools like reading news articles, listening to podcasts, practicing shadowing, and reviewing grammar or vocabulary apps. Track your progress. Weekly. Keep a language journal where you record your learning each day. Note down new words, expressions, or any challenges you encountered. Practice exercise. Design a weekly language lab schedule with varied activities such as speaking practice on Mondays, listening practice on Tuesdays, and so on. Stick to it to see consistent improvement. 29. Building a rich vocabulary. Learning contextual and situational words. A rich vocabulary is key to expressing yourself precisely. Here's how to go beyond basic vocabulary and build a range of situational words. Learn vocabulary. In context, instead of memorizing random lists, learn words in sentences or contexts. For example, if you're learning travel vocabulary, try using words like itinerary and destination in sentences like, my itinerary includes 3 destinations. Collect synonyms and antonyms. For each new word, learn a synonym or antonym to expand your options. For instance, for happy, Learn joyful and content, as well as the opposite, like sad or unhappy. Practice using new words immediately. Whenever you learn a new word, try to use it in a sentence the same day. Immediate use reinforces memory. Practice exercise. Pick 5 new words each week and write sentences with them. Make it a goal to use each word in conversation at least once during the week. Maintaining a growth mindset. Embracing continuous learning. Finally, to sustain progress and enjoyment in learning English, cultivate a growth mindset. This mindset views challenges as opportunities and believes in the power of continuous effort. View mistakes as learning steps. Rather than feeling discouraged by mistakes, see them as a natural part of the learning process. Each one teaches you something new. Set achievable milestones. Celebrate small wins, like holding a 5-minute conversation or learning a difficult phrase. Each milestone is a sign of growth. Stay curious and open to new experiences. Language learning is a journey, not a destination. Embrace the process, stay curious, and find joy in each new expression you master. Practice exercise. Set a long-term goal, such as reach conversational fluency in 6 months. Break it down into monthly milestones like improve listening comprehension or speak with a native speaker. Celebrate each step along the way to stay motivated. Story of Leila's journey to English fluency. Leila had always dreamed of working abroad. Growing up in a small town in Morocco, she'd watch movies set in bustling English-speaking cities and imagine herself as part of that world. After years of hard work, her dream finally came true when she got a job offer in London. There was just one problem. Although she'd studied English in school, she'd never used it extensively in conversation, and now she needed to speak it daily. When she arrived in London, everything felt overwhelming. She understood English well enough to follow instructions at work, but speaking confidently was a different story. The first few days were tough. Layla struggled to keep up with her colleagues' fast-paced conversations, their British accents, and the slang they used. She found herself feeling shy and worried that her colleagues would think she was not qualified for the job. One day, after a particularly difficult meeting where she felt lost, Layla decided she needed a new approach. She remembered a piece of advice her language teacher had once given her. Think of language learning as building a house. Start with a solid foundation and add to it gradually. Determined to get better, Layla set up a plan for herself. Building confidence, step by step week. 1. Practicing self-introductions. Layla began by practicing one simple thing, introducing herself. At first, she felt silly doing this alone in her apartment, but she knew that if she could nail her introduction, it would give her a small but crucial boost of confidence. She practiced different ways to introduce herself, experimenting with intonation and adding bits about her life in Morocco. Slowly, this helped her feel more comfortable speaking up at work. When she finally introduced herself confidently to her manager in the break room, he responded warmly, asking questions about her hometown. This small interaction felt like a breakthrough moment. It was the first time Layla had successfully connected with someone in English, without feeling anxious. Week 2. Embracing visualization and preparation. Layla started to visualize upcoming conversations in her mind before they happened. If she knew she had a team meeting or would need to speak to a client, she'd imagine possible questions she might get asked and rehearse her responses. She even practiced saying them out loud while walking to the office, which made her feel more prepared. One morning, her manager asked her to give a brief update on her work progress. Thanks to her mental preparation, she knew exactly what to say and was able to explain her tasks clearly. Her manager nodded approvingly, and her confidence grew. Tackling challenges and practicing in real-life conversations outside work. Outside of work, Layla decided to push herself by having casual conversations with strangers whenever she could. She made small talk with her barista, asking, "How's your day going?" and striking up conversations with neighbors about the weather or the city's famous landmarks. Each of these small exchanges added to her confidence and fluency. One day, while waiting in line for coffee, she met Sarah, an English teacher from Australia who was new to London. Sarah noticed Layla's accent and asked if she was learning English, which led to a friendly conversation about language learning. Sarah mentioned a local language exchange group where people from different backgrounds met to practice English. Layla decided to join, and this became her favorite weekly activity. There, she met other people facing similar challenges and found it much easier to make mistakes and try new expressions in a supportive environment. Breaking through setbacks and maintaining motivation, the meeting mishap. 3 months into her job, Layla faced a setback during a client presentation. Her nerves got the best of her, and she stumbled over a few sentences which made her panic and lose focus. She left the meeting feeling embarrassed and defeated, questioning if she'd ever be truly fluent. But instead of giving up, Layla decided to reflect on what went wrong. She realized that she'd been focusing so much on sounding perfect that she wasn't allowing herself to make mistakes. She decided to take a more forgiving approach. Instead of aiming for flawless English, she'd focus on clear communication, even if it meant making some errors. Turning mistakes into learning moments. In her next meeting, she didn't pressure herself to be perfect. When she stumbled over a word, she paused, corrected herself, and continued. To her surprise, her colleagues didn't seem to mind at all. This taught her that mistakes were a normal part of language learning, and she didn't need to fear them. Reaching milestones and celebrating small wins. Feeling fluent and natural. Over the next few months, Layla continued to apply all her strategies, practicing visualization, having daily conversations, and reflecting on her progress. She found that she no longer needed to mentally rehearse every sentence. Words started to come more naturally. One evening, during a work gathering, Layla was deep in conversation with a colleague, laughing and sharing stories about their childhoods. Suddenly, she realized that she wasn't translating in her head anymore. She was speaking English naturally. This realization filled her with pride. All the practice, self-reflection, and persistence had finally paid off. A message for fellow learners. Layla's journey taught her that learning a language takes time, patience, and kindness toward oneself. By embracing each conversation as a learning opportunity, she not only became fluent in English, but also built meaningful connections with people from different backgrounds. Looking back, Layla often tells her story to encourage others. Fluency isn't about speaking perfectly, she says. It's about communicating your thoughts and connecting with others. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're your best teachers.